Wow, Bundi can become politician. I didn't get my answer, but I felt like he answered my question.
I think my web. Hey, turn off. This is my experience.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Backholder Pod. This week, I think we have something fairly interesting. I've actually personally came across this LinkedIn post that went kind of semi-viral. I think it has garnered more than 400 to 500 over likes on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is not a social media platform, by the way. It's a networking platform, I presume. But anyway, I think zooming into this topic today, focus of today, I'll just briefly read out a preamble that basically got people's attention. So it's an article from Business Insider where the headline states that meet the students stacking internships and battling each other to get a foot in Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan's door. I think essentially, long story short, the article wanted to outline how competitive it is, specifically in the finance niche. So JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, for those of you who don't know, they're considered bulge bracket banks. So they're like the cream of the crop. And then you have your second tier banks. And I believe actually our local banks, they're considered quote unquote third tier banks because that they don't have that international standing when you compare it to GS or JP or CT even. So that's just some context. So then here comes the crux of the issue. So Low, who's the person that's featured here, told Business Insider that he plans to complete 9 to 10 internships before he graduates. So all this, the business admin student says, is part of his quest to land a job with a big bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. And this is a direct quote from him. So I think effort-wise, there really is no limit for me. Would I rather enjoy now but be mediocre in life, or worse, suffer later? Or would I rather grind now but gain the potential to succeed in the future? So the latter resonates with me infinitely more. So that's a direct quote from him. So I think there's two phases to it. Let's not talk about the quote first. Let's first discuss this phenomenon about students being more enterprising, they want to get more internships, and basically just your opinions on it. Maybe I can share mine first. I wouldn't necessarily share my opinion, but I'll share my observation. So for those of you who don't know, I actually graduated uni just last year, and I happen to be in the business admin, banking, finance space as well. I think this is a very common phenomenon, particularly so for people that are gunning for top seats. So finance is a very broad term, right? So finance, you can have people working in financial advisory, which is the agents. You can have people wanting to work in back office, which is in compliance, in HR, stuff like that. Marketing, I think those are more considered back end. You have people in middle office, which is they do some sort of a hybrid role. Sometimes they meet clients, sometimes they do research, or at the back end, there's people that are like investment analysts or equity analysts, those kind. Then the front end are your front facing, like your relationship managers, people that close sales for institutions, etc., etc. People on the trading desk, your traders. So those are more front end role because they entertain people and they do relationship. So these is basically in the banking space, and then there are those which I consider like others. So you have people working in the brokerages, people in other forms of finance, maybe in debt instrument, in private equity, and stuff like that. So all these are different tiering, and I guess for those of you who don't really know, I think it's quite a common knowledge that investment banking is like the cream of the crop. So people that go, I think two types, investment banking and private equity. But from what I understand, private equity usually don't accept fresh grads. There are usually exits from IB. So people go into investment banking for 2 years, they harness all the skill set and then they exit into consulting or private equity. So that's generally how it goes. So that's why a lot of top students or people in the cream of the crop will try to eye and bang on getting a seat. And it's definitely not easy. At least from my understanding, people don't usually get their step into JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs on the first try. So what they do is they try to build up a resume. They go into the second tier or third tier banks first, or maybe even some private funds or stuff like that. They rake up the experience and then they try to propel themselves in. So that's an observation. So I haven't provided opinion yet. So I'll just hand the time over to Kelvin on what's your thoughts on back then, maybe even share your own experience when you were in uni, how many internships you went, and what was your own opinion of this whole internship requirement to even get a job in the first place.
So for just for context, I was studying in NUS as a computer student internship. Actually, actively avoided internship because I was like thinking, I was studying so hard all semester long, holidays still need to work. So I didn't really do an internship. But having said that, it wasn't an official internship lah, but eventually I did apply for a job. I wouldn't call it an internship lah, it's more like a freelance slash part-time kind of thing lah, where I work for someone, get low paid, do basically admin stuff lah. So I doubt it's as grand as what Jiking said for them, because for them it's more about getting all this job experience, but for me it's just to pass the time, earn money, that's all. But probably it also has something to do with my degree, because for computing I can, okay, so for internship people do it to gain job experience, but for programmers there's other ways, there are other ways to gain experience. For example, during my school time I also build websites, games, build apps all by myself lah. So I used that to find my job. It was also considered as internship, I guess, but without the pay lah.
I think they call it building portfolio lah. So I
Yeah,
think
portfolio.
specifically maybe in marketing roles, in computer science roles, people care about what you have achieved previously rather than bulge bracket names or whatever names that are on your resume. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, internship wasn't that relevant. But I do think that if I got an internship that time, my starting pay would have been way higher lah. So I guess is if you are someone who wants a higher pay starting as a fresh grad, then I think internship is good. But I don't know how much internship do you really need? Like, do you even need like 10 internship, or is it's just one or two is more than enough?
Bunti?
Should I answer that questions?
Please answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this one really is time dependent. Our era versus now. And okay, my own internship, I think not so helpful in terms of landing me my first job. But it's just that I think still quite a memorable one. I actually worked with HR department before. So scheduling, interview, this kind of works. I think I still remember. Even I sometimes don't think that the companies is, they don't get anything, they still have someone who is rather quite senior and guide me through the works, and I still don't know anything at all, right? I'm not like a business grad also, but he guide me through like how to sort through all these resume and so on. So that's quite memorable for me. But I think to respond to Chiking's comments, right? I think our time's quite some years ago lah. It's very different now. And then getting into all these positions, this kind of industry, right? It's very niche and it's very small, very targeted. So if all the bright people want to get into that kind of job, and they have like 3, 5, 7 internship, and you have zero, basically you have no chance at all, right? I think this is just the reality of the situations. I don't think like most of the industry is like that. Maybe just the hot one is like that now. Yeah, I think it's similar for example, let's say you want to get the degree, right? Like those hot subject that people want to take, right? It's the same, right? It's like if you have good results, maybe it's not enough. You still have other things to show in order to get admitted to the university, right? To study that specific course. But not every course is like that now. Yeah. The hot jobs is like that.
Eric, maybe your experience it's the furthest away lah, but I think it's
Yeah.
still useful to hear.
Okay, so your question, is it useful to have 2 or 10 internship? I think it maybe depends on the field you're in. Like for science, I think internship okay only lah. It's not like wow, you go to A star, like wow, you're very good or what. Not really lah. They're more, I feel that they are more academic or research inclined. So if you've done some Europes, the undergraduate research opportunity programs, or you're from university scholars or whatnot, because they have some advanced research modules. Yeah. So you go and do all those research under the professors, then they will see, wow, you actually research this. Not bad, not bad. It's more, I think it's more substantial to them than if you go to some company and don't know, do some HR or what. Like people are like, oh, okay, you're a science grad, then you go and do internship. Okay. Like it's quite limited what you can do in that maybe 10 weeks or so, as compared that you do a research module like maybe for 2 years. People will be slightly more like, oh, okay, means that you got some chops here and there lah. You research something. Yeah. So but I think finance is a bit different. You can kind of do internship for a couple of months and then learn a lot of things. Yeah.
I think to provide color for that couple of months, what I've seen quite a lot of friends and even acquaintances, what they do is they take LOA, which is leave of absence. So they basically delay their graduation by half a year because one semester is 6 months. So what they do, they take an LOA for the semester and then they go and do a 6 months internship with maybe one of the funds or one of the investment houses or whatnot. And to be honest, a lot of people want interns that are 6 months rather than 12 weeks because they can teach you for 1 month and then you left like eight weeks and you can't even. I want you to research an industry or research a suite of companies. You research finish, then you pang kang already. You don't even have time to present. So what happens is it becomes a hush thing. So I won't call it unfair. I guess if there's demand, then there's supply. So that's how free market economy works. So what they do usually when I do know of people, just disclaimer, I didn't really apply it myself. What I do is I hear from stories from friends lah. If you don't LOA, you are probably at a disadvantage because in the first place they want people with 6 months availability. So then how these people do it is that they front load their modules. So meaning one sem maybe you take 4 modules or 5 mods. So they are quite intensive already. So then if I take a LOA of 6 months and I still want to graduate in time, what I'll do is I'll load one more every semester. So then I still graduate in time because every semester I'll be even more loaded. Like I take on more modules and then I'll free up one semester and then I'll go for a 6 months internship. I put that on my resume and then it propels me to the next one. And then I can try to push myself into the next tier lah, once you clear one tier. So that's how the finance ecosystem works. So to Bunti's point, I agree that it might be a finance phenomenon, like something that we only see in this degree.
Yeah, but I think in this case, right, let's say if you want to get into investment banking and you get internship for like, let's call it like 6 months, right? Don't talk about 6 months, even if they extend to 12 months, I think still worth it because if you work for that 12 months, the only downside is that the salary will be quite low because you are internship, as in it will be lower than you getting a full-time job in investment banking. Okay.
I to counter that point, my friends that went GS and JP, they pay them close to full-time pay because
then
they
there's
respect,
no reason to say no already.
Yeah, they respect. I mean, the logic was I'm hiring you because I know you're capable and what the value that you deliver to the table is someone that I presume will be valuable.
Yeah.
So they pack that value with monetary as well. So they do get paid quite well, even as interns.
But what I'm saying is that even if you need to delay the graduation, I don't think that's a big issue because you study, the goal is to land you the job that you want, right? And although this is not a full-time job, it's just an internship, but it is, let's call it like 6 months, 12 months. To me, it's still like worth it. You get the experience. And once you are in the industry for, let's say like 1 year, it's very easy for you to switch to another job because people don't have to train you for that 1 year, you know? So you are kind of like secured to get into the job. Because I know that actually not everyone studied the subject they study and wanted to get into certain profession, they are able to get that profession. You know, let's say like result not as good, and then you just have to choose some other jobs that's not your top like your the job that you try to get into.
Agreed.
So,
The funny thing actually is a lot of all this toll, they call it like top tier banks, right? They are not the ones that ask people to take LOA. It's the second or third tier because they know that you need this experience. That's why they ask you to take an LOA. Then once you take the LOA, you try to push your way up and then you go them and then they call them like I think summer analyst or fall analyst and then it's usually 12 weeks. That's what I understand. Maybe people can correct me in the comments. But yeah, this is my own personal observation. Yeah. To me, maybe I share my opinion, right, about this taking internship thing. Truth be told, I'm more Gen Z, meaning I'm more to the younger side. I think if your situation is something like Calvin, where you need a mental health break, please go and take a mental health break. You don't want to work yourself and not be happy about it. But to be fair, I do think that whenever there's a time, meaning whether is it the December holidays or the June period, because that's usually where after your exams, right? I think it's good to do as many as you can. It doesn't have to be directed, meaning if you don't have a goal, I didn't come in uni and say that I want to be an investment banker. If that's not your goal, I think it's good to try around because it's important for you to discover. I think the discovery phase is very underrated. A lot of people say that maybe you study science means that I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to be a researcher. I think that's not necessarily the case. Even so, even if you study marketing or you study finance, means that you must be in that particular role. I think that's not. I mean, there's a lot of living examples that's not the case. And I think going into an internship, even though you're not important, and there's probably somebody that's going to check your work and he's going to sign off everything that you do, it's good that you are exposed to the range of things that you're going to do at that role. And then once you're exposed, you'll know which part you like, which part you don't like. And that's what I think, in the first place, what an internship should do. It became, or it has evolved into this way because it's a popular industry. But if not, I think initially the whole idea of doing an internship is to try out, is to know what you want, what you like, and what you don't like. So that's just my own perspective. And I think I briefly did one. It was not even I didn't. So to answer Calvin's point about whether need to do, I believe need to do. So it has became, they had officialized it or like institutionalized it into a degree that you need to clear one internship before you can graduate. At least that's for my school. So they actually do grading, and then they check in with your supervisor. Your supervisor need to do a report, and then they institutionalize the whole process. So to give you a feel. But then one is like the bare minimum. Then on top of that, everybody need to do a lot more.
Oh yeah, that's the other reason I didn't do internship. For my degree, internship was totally optional. So, but I do share the taking sentiments lah. So it's to get experience. But other than that, you also need to find your own mentor, right? So let's say if someone wants to learn how to do YouTube,
Can apply for Calvin's internship.
because like I've told all the rest lah, not just me, but like Chris, Honey Money, they all. I say like because he already have all those experience. Like if you want to be a YouTuber, you can just approach him. He obviously needs someone cheap to save money, and in return, he will give you the experience that no other YouTubers who are starting out has. So I think it's a win-win for both. So it's not just a money kind of thing also. It's also experience, which is worth way more than money.
I remember in my time, right? I remember now, not just internship, the rate was like going for 1 semester exchange program at a prestigious university. So I am
It's
not
still there.
it's still there.
It's still something exciting people look forward to.
Like between that and say going for internship,
They'll do both. I think enterprising and very highly aware, motivated students, they'll do both. And they'll squeeze everything together.
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that-
once I acknowledge that fact, and then I realize that they're here and I'm nowhere near, then I realized that, oh, this is where the world is different. Then I didn't bother.
Chicken,
Yeah.
anyone from your batch like already passed all the CFA when they graduate?
CFA level 2. When
Only
they
level 2
graduate.
No level 3?
I think level 3 got requirements for working
No
experience.
lah, you can take the exam first ma. Maybe cannot get the
They'll-
charter.
Yeah, I believe they but yes, got level 2 a lot. Not funny. Yeah. So they passed level 1 at year 3, year 2, year 3, then level 2 at, because I believe they count your XP. Okay, so CFA level 1, level 2, level 3, I think every levels there are certain requirements before you can take the exam. But they apparently count the university as, how do I put it, as some sort of experience. So they can clear until level 2. Then level 3 needs some other, I don't know what experience.
Yeah. Because I remember the exam halls, right? It's like, wow, it's like tons of students. Like all students look one, definitely not working one.
So there was a running joke within my friend group saying that now because they keep pushing everything earlier, because the competition is getting stronger and stronger, that's how you stand out, right? Next time, if I want my kid to be a finance kid, right, maybe secondary school I need to teach him how to do time value of money and DCF ready, so that they're ready to take on the challenge when they go JC.
Set up
So,
company
I mean,
already.
Sorry?
Set up new company already. By the time you graduate, already sold 2 companies.
Yeah. So that has been I mean, it's a running joke, but I think we can see that this is kind of the phenomenon. I think in Chinese or in China, they call it 内卷, where everybody's going through that process and it gets more and more competitive and people are all vying for the same job. At the end of the day, still demand supply. So that's why people are willing to go to different extents. So I just wanted, I think now, I don't know, is it Bunti or Eric's kid is older? I think from a parent's perspective, what's your thoughts on that? Like, are you guys... So Bunti, are you ready to teach CFA to your
No.
your 2 kids?
I teach them how to use ChatGPT. so that they learn how to learn.
So actually, do you think that the whole CFA thing, do you think it's important to clear it before you go out?
Don't know. Depends on the profession. I think it's a bit similar to the situations. It's like, is internship important? Yeah, I don't have one, but my peers all have at least 3. Then you must have it, right? So same for CFA. If everyone have CFA level 2, level 1, then you have 0. Then you don't even get the chance to show people that you are serious to get into like, let's say like finance or business related jobs, right? So I think then you are being forced to, just because of your peers lah. It's not like that exams can help you much, right? Yeah.
Side note though, I think there was quite a few people that asked me about taking CFA. For anybody interested, you can email me, you can sponsor me. It's not cheap, but if you email me, I don't mind studying. I mean, I'm okay with studying. So it's just that if you want me to have the title, you can. But I do believe the title requires a lot of requirement. Like I need to be working in finance and don't know how many years of experience. But just taking the exam, if you know whether I can pass, you can sponsor me. But anyway, to the next point about Eric, what's your thoughts on this? Preparing your kid for the realities.
My kid now still quite young like 7 going on to 8. I am teaching him how to kind of use his pocket money, how to divide it into different chunks. This one save, then this one give back to me, parent tax. Then this one you can give to charity. This one, yeah, you can spend it on your own hobbies, games, whatever. Just teaching him how to portion his pocket money, then he will know how to direct his cash flow. I think that is very useful skill to have. I think when I was growing up, I don't think my parents were very well versed financially. Yeah. In fact, I learned that there was a stock market only when I was like 26, like super old already, right? I was
Wow.
work
Really?
Yeah, and then my friend was like, "Oh, wow, you see, wow, you read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad?" Then I'm like, "What's that, huh? Can have so many daddy one."
But at least I don't know about Singapore, but my experience coming from Malaysia is that, the last time newspaper, right? There's always one like special, not special, like, it's like not the main newspaper, and then it shows like list of companies with their share price. I started to learn from that since since like primary school. Is that, oh, what are these line, right? Oh, these are list of companies. Yeah, and then it shows the PE, 52-week high and low. That's the only information available. I think. I don't know. I think nowadays still have that.
Yeah, but I think I only really got interested in stocks and shares, right? Only when like the internet become more prevalent. Like, yeah, I see more of that like online and all that. Then, okay, what's all this about? Yeah. Then after reading that Rich Dad Poor Dad, I kind of understood lah. Okay, so this is like a casino, right? So I went in, I whacked very big, you know. Year was 2007. That was the year that Genting, 2006, sorry, Genting, like setting up the casino. So there's a lot of rumors. Then every day it was going up like 5 to 10% every day. Leh. Then I was like, wow, so easy money. Then I whacked 20,000. That time my pay was like 2,000 plus. I contra 20,000. I didn't know what I was doing. Then luckily the thing went up. It went up in like 3 hours, and I made $1,000. I remember my first trade, like my first serious trade. Yeah, but that was unfortunate because I didn't know what I was doing. Then I thought I was like what Kelvin always say. I thought I was fuck all can 赌神 ah. Then I just whack. Then obviously I have to pay a lot of tuition fee lor. So yeah, I think that $1,000 all lose back already, and I lost a lot more. Yeah, next time we have one episode talk about loss one. Yeah.
Okay, but circling back, right? So Bunti is gonna teach the kids how to learn. Eric is gonna
I
teach the kids how to.
actually I thought already. I taught them like concept of compounding, and then I taught them like what is stock market. They all can understand. Yeah.
Okay, so fine. But I think okay, so those are more life lessons, money lessons kind of thing. Lah. Then Calvin, I think maybe not at the stage yet, but in future.
Yeah, I have to teach, right? Because everyone is teaching, so it's like a arms race really. That's why Singapore is so competitive, so stressful. Everyone just wants to be the top. And if you are the second, they will just shoot you. Yeah, so this whole internship thing, I don't know, is like good and bad thing, I guess. You want to enjoy your uni life, but then your friends are all taking. If you don't take, then how? You're going to get lower pay than them. So Yeah, everyone has to do it. Then I think, and because it's an arms race, this whole internship thing is going to get earlier and earlier in age, right? So suddenly in what poly in secondary school, everyone has to do internship already. Yeah. Like, I also remember like
That's my personal
yeah.
sorry.
So something like I remember like when I learned math, some concepts like division, subtraction, yeah, division and multiplication. I think nowadays the kid are learning this way earlier than my age at the time. Yeah. So everything is becoming earlier and earlier. They just want to cram everything as much as possible. Yeah.
It's a similar experience about this being earlier because I believe there's somebody that reached out to me. He's from one of the top schools lah, and he was only in JC, and he was already thinking about like any book recommendations, how to look at stock market, how to invest, etc., etc. So when I was in JC, I was not thinking about it, but yeah, I guess everything will just be more and more competitive. But I think maybe just to answer a second part or to extend this discussion a second part, right? I want to go back to the quote. So the funny thing about quotes, right, is that sometimes people focus on what is said, but I like to focus on what is not said. Meaning, when he says something, he's also implying something else. So he said that, would I rather enjoy now but be mediocre in life or worse suffer later? So this is a very powerful sentence because the implied meaning is if I'm enjoying now, meaning if I'm sitting on my lazy ass, I don't go for internship, means that I will be suffering later and I'll be mediocre in life. So I just wanted, because it seems like a self justification, right? Well, I'm doing so much now because I must be in front, I must be the cream of the crop, I must be part of the top 1% of my cohort, then I won't be mediocre in life. While the rest of the rest that are not doing anything means that I'm mediocre in life, right? I mean, that's the implied meaning from how I read the quote. I saw Eric's face. You smirked. Maybe Eric, do you have any thoughts about it, or do you think my inference is wrong?
Wow, that word smirk. It sounds a
You
bit
smiled, like
judgmental.
smiled. You smiled.
I smile lah. I never smirk lah. I won't dare to judge you. I don't know. I think it takes a kind of very driven person lah to want to get all this. I think he takes the internship thing to an extreme, and obviously the media loves extreme, right? They everything that they see that, oh, it's not common, it's extreme, then yeah, we'll like blow it out of context and get some eyeballs. So that's their motivation, that's their goal. For that person that actually go for like 10 internship, I think he's simply, that's his like drive lor. That's what he wants to achieve. But to say that, someone that doesn't do this, right, will be mediocre, is, I think it's quite ridiculous lah. Like you can look at Bunti. Does he look mediocre to you? He enjoyed his childhood. He was happy, and then now he's like 100x. Then like he look at him and like, what's your point? So doesn't, I think sometimes it's involve luck, involve like the whole setup of your life. Like sometimes the dots just connect. I don't think like people like Steve Jobs, they actually went to like 10, 20 internships, right? Yeah. So I think the story that he told about going for the calligraphy class, right, is very impactful. Like he go for that class because he simply loved like the different font types, and he didn't know that later on you lead to like him revolutionizing the Mac. So I think sometimes in life we do certain things, we don't know what is it for yet. But when you reach that stage, right, you look back. That's why I bought Nvidia. So the dots will connect lah somehow, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's good to be driven. It's good. It's good to have a goal, a purpose, and then you're working very hard for it. But I think the not so good part is you saying that, oh, if you're not doing this, you're likely to be mediocre, average, or suffer later in life. Like this, I don't think that you can say that, because after living for such a long time, I see there are people that are like more successful lah. Like they are not like so driven, but they kind of, the situation kind of sets up nicely for them lah. Yeah, I don't know how to put it lah. It's like living in the moment, and then somehow you meet your 贵人. Of course, you yourself is a person of value and all that. That is without, don't need to say one. But yeah lah. So why I smile is because everyone's life is so different, ma. So we need to give grace, like people may not do things like you, but they can still be like successful, or maybe not even in the economic sense. Like, am I talking nonsense? I don't know.
No, yeah, you're making sense. Don't worry. So maybe Bunty want to open the question to you, right? Because Eric pinged you as a 10 bagger on Nvidia. I don't know whether you can pick the next 10 bagger again. I wanted to ask, I wanted to extend the question. So if you go back now, like if let's say I return you your life again, you go back to 23, 24 when you're still in uni. Would you rather enjoy now but be mediocre in life, or worse suffer later? What's your answer to that?
I think also quite weird leh. I don't know why he's thinking about mediocre, because it's like okay, first the internship, you want to do internship to get the job, right? And internship is, I mean, arguably it's already something that's at least close, or if not already in that profession, right? So why frame the internship as if it is something that is very, like mediocre stuff to do or bad thing to do? You should be very excited, right? So I don't get that. If you want to enjoy and not doing internship, that means you don't like that job anyways, then you should just happy hour until like not finding a job and just fire before you actually start to work, right? Then that's the definitions of enjoying life, right? I really a bit stuck, like, okay, what is he trying to say there?
Wow, Bunty can become politician. I didn't get my answer, but I felt like he answered my question. But anyway, okay, Kelvin, you're muted.
I think internship is just a showcase that you have experience. So let me show that I have experience in something. I think hey, turn off. This is my experience. So I think like experience comes in many forms lah. It can be your internship, it can be your play button. So I think even if you don't have internship, you will sooner or later get it elsewhere. Maybe it's your first job, maybe it's your second job. So yeah, those who want to take it easy in life earlier on, I would say go ahead. At least it work out for me.
Wait, so you're saying that you took it very easy in life earlier on, lah? Is it?
Yeah,
You're the living example of it, lah.
Yeah, correct.
Kelvin is nowhere near mediocre, by the way. I'm quite sure he opened out the chart, right? Like if you do the compare salary first, I think it's like top, I don't know how many, 5%.
Hey, then that guy, what that guy say is true, right? Then he say that's why you're suffering now.
No, so like if let's say if I take internship now, the life would have been very different, right? For example, I would have worked at a maybe higher pay job, and I wouldn't have considered doing YouTube. And maybe I would start at that higher pay job for the rest of my life until something happens lah. So I think everything happens for some reason. For me, is my company closed down 3 times. I work as 4 startups, 3 companies closed down. so that led me to here. So everything has a reason lah. Yeah.
Actually, Calvin, I just thinking, do you think that it's actually fated that you should start your own business and or start a YouTube channel? Because the way I look at it, right, as a bystander, right, like, is there a more obvious way to tell you that you cannot be an employee? Like, whenever you get a job, your company just closed. It's like,
No, this is just a startup life lah, especially in like gaming sector. All the small game sectors like that I went to interview like 15 years ago. I think none of them exist really. So so that's how the industry works lah. But for software company, they have a longer lifespan.
but why don't you go for the software company if you're looking for stable job?
I wanted an easy life though. I'm not really interested in software. I was more interested in having fun. Yeah, a bit different.
Okay, interesting.
But I think looking back when you were in the gaming industry for the last 10 years, right? You had fun. You really enjoyed every day. When
Yeah,
compared
so
to if you know that you had another alternate path, which is getting more stable career, higher paid job, but you might not necessarily like every day.
yeah, I think that's the
So
point lah.
so Kelvin is basically connecting the dots backwards.
I don't know. But either way, it worked out. So I think this is also called like what? Can talk cock already because you made it, so you can talk cock. So I don't know. Yeah, like if you just do what you want in life, though, then you will just get whatever result that it will throw at you, then live it.
Okay, Eric, you want to continue the second part? You had a question, right?
Oh, a second part. I don't know whether is it like quite related to this or not. Maybe let me just ask. Do you all think that it is a good decision to like change jobs every 2 to 3 years to get a pay increment? Because one of this recurring theme that I see, right, on LinkedIn, TikTok, and all this, right, they have these career coaches, consultants, right? They say that hey guys, the days of staying like your whole life at a company is over. You need to move like every 2 to 3 years. If you're not getting your promotion, you need to be going for interviews like every month, just to see like what are you worth, and all that. See, is there any opportunity elsewhere? If you're stuck in a company for, let's say, like 10, 15 years, right? Then if compared to your peers, then I think the person brought out some research, and then it shows that those people who stay in the same company like for 15 years, right, their pay actually went up by only maybe about 30%, compared to those that actually keep switching job every 2 to 3 years. Their pay went up like 100 over percent, 150 or something like that. So they say, in light of these kind of evidence, right, are you still going to say that, oh, my company, my boss, my colleague, they are like my family? Do you want to be with your family, or do you want to, like, have a pay increment? So I don't know. What's your thoughts on this? Curious to know what you all think. Of course, Kelvin cannot.
Actually, I would advocate switching jobs. So I stayed at one company for like 5 6 years, then it shut down. But if let's say if I manage to jump, my pay would have increased much earlier, much faster lah. Also, I don't really see the downside of jumping around, because this is a competitive thing, right? If you don't do, someone else is going to do, and they're going to get higher salary than you. Like maybe your friends are doing it, like, then like 5 years down the road, they are earning double your salary. And in return, maybe 10 years later, you get a gold watch for being loyal to the company. So yeah, then people will say like, wow, it's unethical, people train you up. But the company, on the other hand, they can also fire you anytime, right? Like the Shopee, the layoff, Google layoff, all this kind of thing. So I will still advocate for jumping around lah. There's nothing that rewards loyalty in the company. Like even for even if when I hire someone, I would expect them to jump, because I just want the best for them. There's no point asking to stay. If I want them to stay, I would have to increase their pay a
Yeah,
lot
means
often also.
they jump means that you're not paying them enough. That's why they jump.
Correct. So even if you are paying them enough, they can also use that pay to jump. So either way, they are still going to jump. So why not just train them out as best as you can? Then since once they have grown up, then let them move on. Yeah.
Buddhi,
Seems like I'm the only one that jumping around. Okay lah, I'll say have to jump on. I think that's the reality lah. What Eric you just shared, right? Like those who stay in the same job for 15 years, right? Definitely won't have, like, although every year maybe you still have some increment, but can't match up to those who jump around lah. But I would say maybe I know for the youngster who is watching this, right? I know when you start working, you look at the salary, and then maybe you benchmark against your peers, and then you look at someone who already jumped, maybe it's like 1K, 1.5K higher than you, and then you also want to learn. But I would say maybe don't focus too much on the money first lah. The money will come one. The money will come someday as you have some experience. I would say maybe jump for the purpose of getting more exposure. That is a lot more important, because one thing I noticed is that for those who don't work in different companies, right, you are dealing with one scope of work, one way of doing things, right, and then you can't even compare. You don't even know like other companies for the same situations, how are they doing things, right? So these kind of things really you need to move around. Maybe I'll say like even same industry, move around in roles that are similar roles, maybe not exactly the same, and that help you build the exposure. Like you have the exposure already, then it's good for your learning. I think that's the most important one. Yeah.
like Buddhi, I just want to ask you, because I think in this aspect you kind of have the most experience. I think, not sure about Kelvin, but it seems like you switch jobs how many years on average?
The first few jobs was rather short now. The first three is about 1 year each.
One
So it's like 1 year I jump already, 1 year I jump already. Then only from fourth one I work like 5.5 years, and then the longest one was 5.5 years. And I never worked in one company longer than 6 years. Yeah.
So what in your opinion, right? What is
Mm.
the optimum time frame? Like, is it
It,
once you learn something, then nothing to learn, really, then straight away you should be looking to
I, I
jump?
I think no formula one, because also sometimes there are works that you work 1 month already, you can't learn anything at anyway.
Mm,
So you jump lah. If I include the job that I worked before I graduated, the shortest one is like what, maybe 1 month, and that's just a sales job. I together with my friend, we work I think as a cashier, and then it's like nothing to learn one. Then suddenly we get another job that pay us like few hundred extra. Then we just jump So that kind of situation is like there's no learning curve. But I would say usually it's like maybe early in the career, right? Maybe don't stay like longer than 3 years. But
mm,
once you have like more than 10 years of experience, then that learning is like you go anywhere. It's like you are kept anyway. So no, not the reasons to jump will be like less reason to jump lah. Once you're more senior, yeah.
I had a question, but somehow I forgot what I wanted to ask.
I think at different phase is different. I would say maybe first, let's say between first year to maybe close to 10 years, right? You are mainly looking at yourself. You are learning, right? You're still doing things. You're learning, and you want to learn different things. Then that one really you need to jump. But once you have more than 10 years, right? Then the priority shifted already. Like you focus a lot more at like how to help other peoples to grow.
Mm.
So and then you build like some sort of like reputations because you know people's, and then from there onwards, right? I would say people hire you maybe not so much about like what you can do personally, but how you manage the team, how do you manage
Mm,
the company, and then who do you know,
yeah.
that kind of things. So it's very different.
So the networking part, I think, is pretty important in
Yeah.
any industry. Like
Yes.
people, and
Mm,
then they put in a good word. You
yeah.
don't even know that they put in a good word.
Yeah.
They put in a good word
it,
for you.
it, it helps in problem solving also, because the
Mm,
moment you are stuck in your company, right, then who do you reach out to? You can't reach out to people in the company because they are anyway there already. They can't
yeah.
help already. We are all looking at each other. Then you need to look outside. And who are you going to reach out to? Is your friends, right? Your network, right? So that
Mm.
one is very helpful, I would say. Yeah.
Sorry, I remember my question already. So how many interviews, right, or resumes that you send out on average, right, before you actually move?
No need. For my case, no need. It will, as long as you want to talk, right, then people will reach out. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So
So there,
you
there
don't
will
look.
be recruiters, yeah, working in this kind of field.
No,
So
but
you're
not
like
not fair
headhunted.
because he's already at a certain standing already.
No,
Like,
like previously when you were like you don't have that big of a network, like how many tries, how many resumes do you send out on average before you make a move?
Yeah, I would say the moment you have like 3 years experience, I think that there's already recruiter working like specialized in certain industry that will help you out. Usually they will give you a lot of like like companies are hiring, so they will send you JD, and then you go for interview. The moment you go for interview, it won't be just one. It will be like straight away you interview 3, 4, 5 companies, and then you hope that you get like at least 2 offers so that you get to choose, right? I think that's the norm, I would say. It's not any. I have no recommendation in these situations. Usually, it's like a lot of considerations, push and pull factor, and so on. Yeah.
I think in any competitive environment, economy per se, whether you are in London or you are in Singapore, you are in Hong Kong, I think it's natural that it becomes more and more competitive, and everyone wants the best for themselves. And that's basically the fundamentals of how to make some economy or ecosystem of people or things competitive, because everybody wants to one up each other. That's why productivity increases and stuff like that. So I guess naturally, it takes shape and form into something like that. I think major respect to the guy. I've went through his LinkedIn. He has like 5 GPA, meaning he maxed out everything. He basically got A or A plus for everything. Even as a fresh guy in uni, I think not even 1 year, he's winning case competitions. He has a lot of scholarships. He's probably the A star kind of student that will probably land a role in JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs anyway. I have no advice because I'm not in the industry. I don't know how they choose. But yeah, kudos to him. For the rest of the plebeians like me that didn't go to JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, I think don't have to take it too hard on yourself. And there's this term, right? Comparison is a thief of joy. Kelvin can show your silver button again. I think can serve as a reminder. You can, when Kelvin show you just now, you can screenshot and then put as your desktop picture to show yourself that you can do it too. I think with that, we'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.
Oh, step and run.
Not step, are you? You also never show.